All right. Hey, you guys. This is Tiara, owner of Swing Solution Services. And tonight I'll be hosting Monday Night Take, also with my puppy Waffles. He's here. So tonight we're going to be discussing, I'm going to be going over, two resume reviews, along with you all having a successful first day, 90-day action plan. So you guys can get this money and have a great review. All right. Go ahead, Vic. You can cue the intro.
That's 100.
All right, you guys, it feels so good to be back on Monday Night Take on the Come Up series. So tonight we're going to be discussing resume reviews, okay? So I'm going to be going over an HR resume as well as one of my friends who actually works at a FANG company. So we're going to be giving him some TLC with this review. And then later on, I'm going to be going over how you can execute and have a successful first 90 days, because that's really going to be important so you guys can make a great and first lasting impression. Okay, and really cultivate great relationships so you can get some more money when you get that review. So if you guys have any questions, please drop that in the chat. So now we can get started. Now, what I will say is if you all have access to your own personal resume, feel free to bring that out, okay, while I do this review. And what I'll do is I'll give you guys a couple seconds and then we can get started. Also, Lauren senses love as well. Okay, perfect. And make sure you guys are sharing this with your friends too. So if you know anyone that's looking for a new job, anyone that currently, I guess, received a job offer, congratulations if you did, or if you are currently in your job, okay? So let's get this going. All right, perfect. So first we're going to start with this resume review. And I'm going to zoom in a lot more because it's really tiny. All right, perfect. Okay, awesome. So when you guys have a resume, right? In general, a resume is a quick overview of your relevant skills and accomplishments that you all will show hiring managers when you're applying for jobs, okay? So essentially, when you apply for a job, it has to go through what is called an applicant tracking system. Now, when you guys are looking at this format, and I'll zoom out, you'll see that this is actually compatible. So it's very clean. You don't see any boxes, which is really important because whenever you guys resume generated, meaning like when you guys are using apply for roles, that really gets choppy and it confuses the actual applicant tracking system. All right, so let's get started. So first we have Susan, and that's her last name. Cool. She has her phone number, email address. Now, what I will say is it's important for you guys to make sure that you're listing professional email addresses, okay? The reason why is that this is all about making a first impression when hires. Next, so the first red flag is that Susan does not have to put her full address. There are a lot of crazy people here, you guys, and it's really important for you to only list the relevant city and state and your zip code. Now, if you're interested in landing a remote job, then you can also list remote as an alternative. All right, perfect. So next, Susan has her profile. So this is her professional summary. So typically in this section, here's is basically where you want to highlight your elevator pitch. So in terms of, so why should I hire Susan to be my HR director at my company if I was hiring her? All right, so I'll read this and then I'm going to start to critique it as if she was one of my current clients. So here she's an HR executive with over 15 years of experience in hiring and retention, conflict resolution, labor management, and benefits administration. Proven experience collaborating with senior management to achieve strategic goals of the company, demonstrated results, working with department heads to reduce employment turnover, and improve employee job satisfaction. Okay, demonstrated experience. We're continuing Okay, reduce payroll expenses, specific knowledge, and creating comprehensive benefit packages for employees. Now, Susan does a great job with adding some relevant keywords, but to me, this is not strong enough. Okay. So if I'm thinking about HR, being like HR executive, I would really want to call out what I specialize in. So I think that she's definitely missing diversity, equity, and inclusion. She's also mentioning in terms of like maybe how she's overseeing a current team, things of that nature. Okay. Because you want to make sure that this is going to stand out. And she could also quantify this section more. So the only thing that she's calling out is her 15 years of experience. Maybe she wants to call out that she's increased retention by 20%. Or maybe she wants to talk about how strategic goals, or maybe like how she continuously fills 100% of the organizational goals. You see that? There's also another key point here where I would say that she can also even call out employee turnover. So she can also quantify that as an option, or she can improve job satisfaction. Okay. So I think that she does, as mentioned before, she's doing a great job here, but we need to spruce this up to make it stronger. And I would also think that she can also use stronger keywords. So you see how she's using demonstrated twice. You don't need to do that. You want to make sure that maybe she's using spearheaded, directed, amplified, transformed. You see that? All of these are really like huge, like relevant leadership components. Okay, so next, she has listed professional experience. So here she has listed that she's an HR director at Texas Instruments Corporation. All right, cool. Now, I used to be a recruiter actually at a staffing firm, and I was also an account executive, so I was also responsible with finding new businesses for them or whatever. But I just wanted to say that I'm looking for 3 components of a resume, okay? I'm looking for 1, in terms of these resume bullets, have you quantified? I want to know what are all your, and I want to see all of your transferable skills, okay? So if we're looking at the first bullet, encourage department heads to improve overall performance of staff, people, improvement and engagement to improve each member's capabilities. I'm looking at this and I can say like, this could be a little bit stronger. So even instead of saying encourage department heads, you can say advise department leads, or you can say oversee. You see that? So these are like all different key verbiage here to improve overall performance of staff. Now, what I would say is you really want to break down, well, what does that mean, right? How are you improving employee performance? Are you implementing new skills? Are you implementing new trainings, right? Or maybe are you researching new methodologies to really improve that morale and staff performance with KPIs? Another way you can also quantify this is maybe with the improving in staff performance, how much is that reflection? I'm sorry, in terms of money, right? So let's say if all your employees are now hitting their goals, and what if that generates a net $3 million for your organization? Okay. All right, perfect. Stay with me now. You guys are doing great. All right, the next bullet says develop new hire training strategies and content for specific development programs. Now, I think that instead of develop, you can say launch, implement, initiate, incorporate, right? So that's like another way how you can make this stronger, okay? All right, for content for specific program development of programs. Okay, perfect. So next we have implement and administer company benefits and packages. Now, when I'm looking at this section in general, you guys, this is another great way for you to call out what tools and systems are you using. So I would say, like, are you putting the company benefits? Is that in Workday, right? Or are you using like another portal? Responsible for strategic workforce planning and talent development initiatives. So what I like about this bullet is that it shows leadership. So she says that she's responsible for. Now, in terms of workforce planning, I think that she can elaborate in terms of what that is. So is that really diving down into retention? Is it diving down into maybe succession planning, which is another relevant keyword with HR? All right, perfect. So next we have delivered a target solutions to build a high-performing organization and maintain a great workplace to work environment. So another way where how she can really make this stand out is that when we're looking at where it says like maintain a great place to work, I would maybe call out what the rating is out of X amount of people, right, that are taking this survey. Okay. All right. Now, When we're looking down to where it has like HR manager at Doubletree Hotel, let's take a look at this. Work with department head to facilitate talent development plans. Okay, so in general, she can really quantify overall. Okay, that's what I'm really getting at for you guys. Okay, in the form of a percentage, a dollar figure, or an actual number. I think that what she can also do is she needs to elaborate on more technical skills. She, maybe because in terms of maybe like developing like new hire training, maybe she's like in terms of like what could be like relevant like 21, 22, I'm sorry, 2023 skills, things of that nature. Okay. All right. Now, another call out that I also look for is the actual skills section. So as you guys notice that her skill section is all the way at the bottom. When I'm a recruiter, if I'm like someone that's in HR, I typically only take 7 seconds to really analyze your resume to make the actual selection to see, hey, if you're going to move forward or not. Okay. So something with this, I would definitely bring this back up to the top. Now, what she needs to also call out, I would say, like, what are her technical skills? What are her HR skills? What are her leadership skills? And what are her soft skills? So if you're in HR, common keywords are, of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion, employee engagement, succession planning, HRIS. Maybe you want to call out, do you use LinkedIn Recruiter? Or maybe you want to call out that you're working with benefits, or maybe you want to call out HR investigations, right? This is something that if I'm in HR leadership, I would be overseeing this. So here it says like a strong sense of urgency. So that's really not, I don't even even like how this is worded. So I don't even know how Susan even became this director with this type of resume, but we're still getting through this. So this is good that she's calling out employment laws and regulations. So here's where she maybe want to call out regulatory compliance as a skill. She can also call out employee retention. She can also call out employment laws, like things of that nature. Okay, perfect. So next we have excellent written and verbal communication skills. Now, let's say if Susan was a professional that maybe wanted to pivot into something else, excellent like written and verbal communication are transferable skills, like presenting, time management, critical thinking, problem solving, all of that. And also negotiation is a transferable skill. All right. Now, something else that's also missing on this resume is that Susan has not called out her LinkedIn profile. I promise you, after like many recruiters may review your resume, see that it's submitted, they're going to go straight to see your social media presence. So that's why it's important for you guys to really showcase your best self on LinkedIn. So making sure that all your information aligns with the resume so there's no discrepancies. You also want to call out a professional photo so they can see that, because you don't want to have any indicators that you're not, you might not be a great fit for this job. All right. Now, another call out that I also see on this resume is the education section. So here she has like a relevant bachelor's in HR, which is great. But the problem is that she has listed a very older date. So if you are, I would like to say like a seasoned professional out there, you don't have to call out this year because ageism exists. You could just list it and just leave it after University of Texas at Austin, okay? So that could be something that you guys can avoid. All right, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and I'll take a look at the chat and we'll take some room for questions. Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry about that. So yeah, so if you guys have any questions in terms of resumes, please let me know and we can talk about it. Perfect. And make sure you guys are sharing this chat. I'm sorry, sharing this link. So this is Monday nights. I'm really excited about this. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous leading this show myself. So I really appreciate everyone that's tuning in live to this. Okay, perfect. So we do have a question. So it says, how do you collect receipts to show? One of my challenges is that I do a lot that's impactful, but it's sometimes difficult to quantify. Any strategies for that? Okay. So what you can do is you really want to think about is, like, I would even say, like, what if you maybe like find, like, what are all your responsibilities, right? So let's just say if you could put in the chat, what is your actual role? And I can help you quantify this right now. Talking to Mr. Griffith. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So in terms of like quantifying, so let's just say that maybe if you ever had to manage a budget, so let's say that if you are a, let's say like if whether you're in HR, marketing, so like what if you maybe have to like work on like different marketing campaigns, right? So let's just say that you guys are spending in ad campaigns, you're managing over $50,000, okay? And let's say after all of those efforts, it yielded a $5 million net gain in new sales. Okay, so that's ways that you can quantify. You can also quantify in form of a percentage. So let's say that if you're a director, right? Let's say that if you're overseeing training, whatever, for a company, what if you so like let's say that like after you maybe like made changes to it, maybe you made it more inclusive in terms of different learning styles, that you increase the pass rate from 72% to 93%. You see that? That's another way you can quantify. Or let's say that if you are a director, let's say instance for Kayla, and thank you so much, you guys, you're so sweet. So let's say that she works with 5 cross-functional teams across operations, HR, sales, compliance, right? And product teams, things of that nature. So those are ways where you can also quantify, okay? All right, perfect. Now, whenever I also think about resumes, you also want to think about, hey, this is your first impression, okay? The reason why this is really important is that think of this as just like a part of your story in terms of how companies get to know you. Because guess what? Whenever I'm helping out my clients, we're going for the top in terms of these salary negotiations, okay? And so if you think about this, right? So if you ever are going for a job, it's important, like for really you to have confidence in yourself, for you to really hone in on your technical skills, okay? I cannot stress that enough. So yes, Kayla, quantify. I have a saying that's called quantify if you want to qualify, okay? And I genuinely mean that. Quantify your resume if you want to qualify for these high salaries of these jobs. Right now, we have September surge going on, which is from Labor Day to I would say up until like the last day, so like after Halloween, so around November 1st. So right now there are a ton of jobs that are opening up on the federal side as well as the private sector side. So federal side, there have been over 5,000 jobs posted within the last week alone. Okay, different agencies. So if you are a veteran, or if you even are interested in pivoting in there as well, you can also, I would say, like look in terms of those opportunities. Okay, so if you're someone that maybe like outside of the government that's interested in like getting into it to pivot in, because I've helped people get into the FBI, Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, things of that nature. What they did was we had to make sure that they had a very different format. So what you guys are seeing is private sector. When you're going for federal jobs, that resume, I would say you can really elaborate. Okay, it's typically in paragraph form. You also want to call out what are the last 4 digits of your social security. You need to call out what was your salary. You can like, if you want to round up a little bit, you can on that. You also want to call out who was your supervisors, like their contact information, like what's their in terms of like their number, things of that nature. Okay, so you can also include that. Now, what makes federal really different from private sector is that not only can you elaborate, but it's like they really enjoy seeing. So if you've done any trainings, if you've done any, I guess like if you have gone to any certifications, right? I'm sorry, if you completed any certifications, attended trainings, really like having fun, like networking at work conferences, all of that's going to make you stand out on federal. Okay. And it's also important to explain, like, so I would say, so like you have a lot of candidates right now, right? People are using Chat GPT, people are using AI to create resumes. And I would say, think about this, right? So if it created resume bullets for me, it might create those same bullets for someone else. So with the federal government, they really want to see how are you breaking this down, okay? So let's say for that HR, for instance, right? Susan from our example. So let's say that one of the bullets is have to plan employee workshops and trainings. If Susan just writes out plan 10 trainings and workshops with the 100% attendance rate, that's not strong enough. On the federal side, they want to know what tools did you use to plan these trainings? What budget did you have? Who did you work with cross-functionally? How were you assessing these trainings? You see that? So you can elaborate a lot more. All right. Now, if you also are like a person that maybe have like a disability, if you've even I would say going to any like I would say even like going to any therapy sessions, you would technically you can apply to qualify for what is called a Schedule A, which means you'll get preference on federal jobs. A lot of people don't know that either. Okay. So, and it's really user friendly. Basically, you can do it through a portal now, and you have, as long as you get it notarized in a document, you'll be good to go. Like that's been a difference where I've had clients that seen an uptick in terms of interviews that they had with the federal government. Okay. All right, perfect. So I'm going to pause really quickly. We got some questions in the chat. So what is from Justin? So it says, what is the you job you worked at? Now, Justin, that's a great question. I would say you can really think about if it's a contract, okay? Because if it's a contract, like 3-month contracts exist, 6-month contracts exist. But I would say that if you have anything that would be less than 6 months, I would say maybe just highlight just the years, okay? Because you want to make sure that they're not going to, like, I guess, like capture that as a red flag, and they really just want to see what were you doing at that job, okay? So I would call that out. And then also in terms of resumes, if you're a professional that only has, I would say, less than 10 years of experience, you only need 1 page of a resume, okay? You don't need to go into like I would say like having 2 because it's too much, okay? As mentioned before, if I'm a recruiter or it's like or a hiring manager, I'm only scanning your resume 7 to 10 seconds, okay? So yeah, I would definitely call that out. All right, perfect. But yes, if you guys have any other questions regarding resumes, please let me know. Please drop them in the chat and we can continue, because then I'm going to bring out this checklist that I used when I used to work at LinkedIn. And I'm so excited. Okay. Perfect. But yeah, now the one thing I will also say is if you have ever applied for a job and if you've ever had the experience where you had to upload everything, right, in terms of like those same contents, that means that your resume is not friendly with their applicant tracking system. Now, I know when I used to apply for jobs, this is like before I went full time with my business, like I used to get so frustrated with that until I realized I'm like, oh, it's because they can't pick it up. Like things of that nature. And I used to get so upset. And then when I got on the HR side, I found out, I'm like, wait, this is technically giving candidates and the chance to still apply. So that's really, I would say, just take it that I'm sorry. So just take advantage of that as like a second chance that you can still get like into that job. Okay, perfect. So what we'll do is we're gonna pivot. Oh, okay, perfect. So all right, so yeah, so you're asking a good question, Akechi, and I hope hopefully I said your name correctly. So, in my opinion, on adding Coursera courses to your education, you definitely can, because all of that's credible. Actually, LinkedIn Learning is not a credible. I'm not gonna say it's not a credible source, but it's not accredited. Okay. Yes. So I would say that, especially if it's relevant to in terms of what you want to do, in terms of pivoting or staying within your like current industry, yeah, you can definitely add it on there. Or and if you don't feel comfortable adding on there, you can add that like whatever that like the name was as a skill. That's fine too. All right, perfect. So Nicole asked a really important question. So she asks, what if you haven't worked in a while? So if you're a professional that hasn't worked in a while, that's okay. Because there are, I would say, definitely ways for you to add to really spruce it up. So you could think about if you've ever volunteered at maybe a church, at a nonprofit organization, you can add that on there. You can also maybe add project experience to break it down, because there are also different types of resumes. If you want to highlight that as well, because I've done it for a client before where right now she's only in graduate school, so she doesn't have any direct professional experience. So she highlighted like volunteer work, her internship work, and she's also highlighted even like some of her like her course project work. So you could break it down like that. So you could break it down into even like like school project work, or even like fellowship or internship work like that too. And then also, and if you also like haven't worked for a while, you can also, I would say, start getting connected with staffing firms, because they have access to so many jobs. In general, you guys, we only see 20% of jobs. Okay, those are the only ones that are posted, and so majority of jobs are happening through some type of networking. So I would say that you can maybe start to find groups for like professionals that may have like similar backgrounds, because there may already be a community with resources there. So check out LinkedIn. LinkedIn has over 3 million groups. Okay, so I know that you can find a community. Like you have people that have dogs on LinkedIn, people that are in marketing on LinkedIn. You can even look for like Black groups, right? Color people of color groups too. So you never know what's there. All right, good. So I'm seeing some more questions coming into this chat. So I'm really excited. So you guys, this is Monday Night Take on the Come Up series. Tonight, I am going to go over like a few resume reviews, and then I'm going to share my action plan that I used when I used to work at LinkedIn. So I'm really excited to give you guys all these gems. So Leslie asked an important question. How do I identify and show transferable skills in my resume? So the first thing I would do, Leslie, is start to read job descriptions, okay, of the role that you want. And you should already start to identify what are the relevant keywords that I'm looking for, okay? You also want to think about in terms of like, are there any skills or knowledge gaps that I may or may not have? Because if you don't have them, then you can go on like a Coursera, go on a Udemy, right? Go and start taking these relevant courses and certifications so you can stand out with your resume. So you can really appeal to recruiters. All right, perfect. Now, in terms of transferable skills, there is so much that's transferable. So let's just say you could be an admin assistant, right? There are a lot of transferable skills to being a project coordinator. So if you think about it, right? Project coordinators and admin assistants both take minutes. They both manage important files. They both sometimes have to work within budgets. So let's say as an admin assistant, maybe you have to budget out inventory supplies, or maybe you have to budget let me see. I thought of like a few. Oh, so maybe like the CEO's traveling expenses, right? Well, maybe as a project coordinator, you have to budget what are like the in terms of like the project resources, right? How much does that cost? You also maybe have to track, are you guys paying your purchase orders, vendor lists, right? Things of that nature. So there's a lot of synergy there. So that could be like one way for you to start to identify that. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. Okay. What I'll do is, Vic, I'll drop it in the chat. So if you ever have like any follow-up questions, I'll be happy to answer them, or even share any resources that I have too. Thanks, Vic. All right, perfect. So is LinkedIn Premium worth it? So Kayla, I would say yes. I think LinkedIn Premium is worth it, but you have to make sure that your presence is strong on LinkedIn. So you need to make sure that all this information is updated. You need to, sorry, that's waffles. Sorry, you need to make sure that you're turning on your open to work section. So that's a feature on LinkedIn where you're informing recruiters and hiring managers that you're open to having a conversation, sharing top locations where you want to work at, okay? And as a highlight, I would say only include cities in that section. And to also maximize that section, you can also call out 5 job titles too, okay? So I just wanted to just share that quick nugget with you guys. But yeah, so you also want to make sure you're already active on LinkedIn, okay? Because when you are, that's going to impact LinkedIn's algorithm. Now, the pros of LinkedIn Premium are you get access to LinkedIn Learning. You get access to see, hey, who's visited my profile. You also get to see what are top insights for jobs, okay? So you get to see where do you stand out compared to other candidates? What are the other candidates' backgrounds compared to yours? You get to also see what are the relevant skills that are associated with this job. The reason why that's also important is that, as I said before, right? Recruiters, if they're not taking them that much time to review your resume, they literally are looking for like the main keywords, okay? A part of that job description. So for instance, if we're thinking about project management, I would want to see agile methodologies. I would want to see full cycle project management. I want to see some type of PM tool. Is that Asana or is that Microsoft Project? Things of that nature. I also want to see, do you know some type of CRM? So is that Salesforce or using Microsoft Dynamics? I also want to see process improvement, risk management, right? So that's an example, right? So if you are interested in a job, you guys should be aware of what are the relevant keywords that I need to include on here, okay? Now, if you are like in a professional where you may not have that direct hands-on experience, think about volunteering. There are so many nonprofits. There are even so many startups that you can think about, or maybe you may be able to negotiate like a little contract on that. But if not, I would just say, just don't be afraid to put that work in, okay? Because I did it. I remember when I graduated college, I graduated with a job and I was up against people that had 3 to 5 years of experience. But that's because I made sure I accumulated experience when I was in undergrad. So yeah. So I would just say like make sure that you guys are like, I would say like don't ever be afraid to put in the work, okay? And I know right now If you ever like feel any doubts or anything like that, that's nothing but the devil. Okay, God has you doing this for a reason. God's getting you uncomfortable, so you got to get uncomfortable to be comfortable. Okay, in the end, if you keep thinking about this, right? I was always a future thinker when I worked at LinkedIn, when I worked at Pepsi, like all these other companies, because I saw myself. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be able to take care of my family, and I achieved that goal when I joined. When I basically pivoted into tech and stuff like that. So, anyway, so another question is, should you do cover letters with every resume? No, you should not. Oh gosh, let me tell you something. I think that there honestly are certain fields that should require a cover letter. So if you're in the legal sector, typically that's going to require that. Also, if you're in higher ed, they typically do want to see a cover letter, and typically for leadership. So if you're going for director level and C-suite, yes, but you do not always need to include a cover letter. I honestly think that cover letters are pointless, actually, like in terms to using it for every resume. Don't, okay? Only if it's required, I would say. And if this is a company that you really like, then you can definitely add it. But you have to make sure you're tailoring the cover letter. Don't use a generic one. So Nicole, you want to make sure that you're including, of course, like a quick overview of your professional background. You want to also include, I would say, some of your education, but you want to talk about how are you going to impact this organization. You want to talk about any new like current events to make you stand out. You know, what type of research did you do? Okay. How are they really, I guess, like beating their competitor, for instance, like depending on what your background is. Okay. So you, yes. Yeah, so Victor brought up a good point too. So another way to do is you can also message the hiring manager. Now, I would say, Victor, sometimes hiring managers, sometimes you may need a LinkedIn Premium account, which is another advantage, okay, of having Premium, because you might be able to only message recruiters that have it. And also with LinkedIn Premium, you'll be able to basically you're going to receive a certain amount of emails each month, because there are different levels to LinkedIn Premium. You got career, you got business, enterprise, things of that nature. So yeah. Now here's a little quick, I would say, like cheat sheet on LinkedIn. Every January, every January that rolls out, every LinkedIn employee gets 10. They get 10 6-month subscriptions that they can give out to anyone they want on LinkedIn. So if you're interested, right, in getting that for free instead of paying for it, this is my little, like little get rich quick scheme that I used to do before I worked at LinkedIn. I would say I would definitely encourage you to start to like work on relationships with people that are that currently work there too, because you never know, they might be able to bless you. Okay, people used to ask me September going like in before January, I will already start to get hits about LinkedIn Premium accounts. So yeah, but I would say, yeah, I do think that LinkedIn Premium is worth it. But I would say if you're active on the platform, if you're really seeking a job, because if you're not really like that, if you're not going to be engaged, I would not pay for that. Okay, because you're not going to see the ROI of it, because it does require time for you to put in. All right, perfect. So any more questions before we get started and looking at like this 90-day checklist? All right, so as a recap, my name is Tiara Swain. I'm the owner of Swain Solution Services. I am a career coach. So I used to work at Pepsi, Kelly Services, and LinkedIn. I worked at all Fortune 500 companies handling their talent and sales strategies. So I'm really excited to be sharing some insights on resume reviews and what you can, and how you can handle your first 90 days. So I'm really excited about this. So this is Monday Night Take on the Come Up series. And so if there are any more questions about resumes, we can go over this 90-day checklist. Okay. And then also too, I also want to just give you guys a little insight. When I created this checklist, it was when I worked, when I was like working my jobs in Atlanta and in Chicago. I made sure all those companies, I always had my numbers. I always won awards. Okay. So I always would get performance rewards, because when I worked in tech sales, I wanted to get that money. Okay. So I'm going to share with you this checklist that really helped me out. And you guys can see it. Here it is. All right, perfect. So what I'll do is I will zoom a little bit more so you all can see this. All right, perfect. So the first 90 days is extremely important when you're working a job, is because this is going to give you a really strong, lasting impression, okay? You'll be able to really, I would say, like really be a sponge and learn so much about your role. You'll be able to make really strong connections, well, hopefully at your company. And I would also say you get to also fix what's not working in advance, okay? Because the whole point is that when you're executing a strong 90 days, this is confirmation that they really selected the right candidate, okay? You have a lot of companies that are at will, which means that they can cut you at any time. I've known people that who did successfully complete their first 90 days. Come here, Waffles. It's okay. All right, here you guys. I forgot this is my co-host right here for the night. Here he is. So we're thinking about the first 90 days. We're going to go in terms of the first week, which is onboarding. So this is going to be a great way for you to set expectations with your manager. Okay, you all should have like really alignment here because you're going to be, you're going to be experiencing each other, dealing with each other until you're done this role. Now, another also important call out is your objectives. Okay, you understand what are KPIs, which is called your key performance indicators. If I'm a manager and I'm hiring an employee, if I'm breaking down everything, right? So I'm going to talk to you. So if I was in sales, my KPIs were how many cold calls would I have to do each week, or how many customer check-in emails do I have to send out? Another call out would be my sales numbers, right, for the week. I had to make sure I'm hitting as if I wanted to reach my quota, meaning so if I wanted to do good performance, I had to execute all of these tasks. Okay. Now, next is going to be really important is for you guys to understand your company's policies and procedures, because they might be a little bit different from what like your managers is, and you need to make sure that you guys are aware of everything. Okay. And the reason why I can't stress this enough is that I've had, had clients, unfortunately, where they were let go because there was a miscommunication in terms of onboarding, so they had to go back and they wound up like finding like another 2 months later, but it wasn't easy. Understand, and this is also good too because I also think that sometimes, right, when hopefully no one's ever experienced this, but if you ever, I would just say that, you have people that experience where after they entered at a company, it was completely opposite. And I experienced it. I was like, ooh, this is what I expected. This ain't it, honey. This is not it. So, yeah, I would also say, I would even just say, think about putting your company on a 90-day checklist, okay? Because if you find out that maybe this company is not giving like all of the ROI that you anticipated, maybe you left a better situation, right? Because that also happens too. You want to work on your exit plan, which means that you got to do well only first 90 days. So, because I would even say maybe shoot for yourself, maybe staying there within months. Again, you could just call it that. I would guess make, if it's that hard for you to work with your manager, things of that nature. I typically would aim for 12 months, but I have seen just instances with some of my clients where we had to cut 6 months for their own mental health. So that happens. But anyway, so here you're going to outline KPIs and benchmarks to track this. Now, this is one that's going to be really important for you guys to make sure that you're also reading your offer letter, okay? You need to understand all the details of this offer letter. Of course, yes, you have the benefits, but you really want to call out like, what are my KPIs here? What are these expectations, okay? Because if you ever have to get legal involved, because it happens, you'll be surprised how often this happens with the turn of employees going against managers. You need to be prepared. So that's why you should make sure you guys have that aligned. And then next, it's to confirm you have access to tools and systems. So I actually had one of my great friends from undergrad. She told me that she started a new job as a project manager and she was locked out for a week and a half. She couldn't do anything. She wasn't caught up on it. It was just hard because she had to play catch up kind of. So I would say during your first week, during this onboarding time, you want to make sure that do you have all the tools and systems do you guys have to succeed in this role? Okay. So I know, making sure that, one is my email working first and foremost, right? Do I have a work phone? Do I have access to all the reports? Do I have access maybe to my Concur, right? To track my mileage or whatever that looks like for your role, okay? So making sure you're getting that ahead of time because you don't want to be stagnant during week 7, okay? Because that's not helping the company and that's definitely not helping your growth. All right, so next we have weeks 2 to 4. This is called learning and training. Now, typically during this time, and again, this is All companies are different, but typically you're going to start honestly shadowing this role. So whether it could be shadowing with like experienced team members, maybe your manager has put together like this like onboarding schedule or whatever, but you're going to start learning this. Okay. Now I would say sometimes companies may offer webinars that you have to attend to complete or any certifications. Sometimes that is like a part of that role. So you want to make sure you guys are taking it seriously and like really executing so you can get this money. All right. Next, you also, again, want to make sure that you're keeping your manager involved. Okay. Because you want to make sure that this is a very, like, you're basically like creating like, I guess I would say like positive rapport with your manager. Okay. That's what you want to make sure of. You want to make sure that your manager is aware at all times, especially this is a manager that you trust, okay? Because they're supposed to be here to help you and guide you, okay? You don't want to go to your manager if you feel like you're not doing well in your job month 8. That is too late. So you want to, like I would say, like doing this right now. So any like questions about your progress. I was a main proponent where, and this is crazy, when I worked at Pepsi, I got an award for asking so many questions. I thought about asking a question because I wanted to like cost Pepsi a lot of money. I didn't need to make any mistakes like that when I could just ask the question. So I would say, don't be afraid because that's what they're there for. And if they're not, make sure you're tracking that via email. Okay. Yeah, please do that. Then you got to create a paper trail on some, like some like conversations with like managers and stuff or HR, whatever for that matter. All right, perfect. So next. So when you're, I would say going around like week 3 and 4, it's going to be a great way for you to start, I would say like start getting really active and being engaged during company meetings. Okay. Maybe it could be a team meeting, stakeholder meeting, a project meeting, whatever. But you want to show that, hey, you are a thoughtful leader in your sector. You want to show that you're adding value to this team. Okay. All right. And the next, what I would do is I always made sure I was networking with different cross-functional colleagues. So with me being in sales, I had to work with finance, with customers who owe us money. When I'm sorry, I also had to work with tech support. So like, let's say that maybe at LinkedIn, I'll never forget, like we had a tech issue where one of my clients, she couldn't see like the send button on her email because I manage staffing firms at LinkedIn. And it was so crazy. So tech support had to get involved with that. And I also maybe have to like work with a customer success team. So, and I'm just going to call this out too. So customer success is a really dope role where you're an account manager, not really having a sales quota. You're there to really cultivate customer relationships and you are there to make sure that they also renew. Okay. But you really are like guiding them through any issues, but it's basically, you don't have the stress of being an account manager, which has the stress of quote. I'm saying that because I was an account manager, but I hit my pay time on the road though, but still, I'm still calling that out. Now, in terms of cross-functional colleagues, I'm is maybe because where I worked in an environment where there were a lot of tech issues going on, unfortunately, we had to kind of wait our turn. So I made sure that I was cool with people in like on the product team. I was cool with tech, cool with finance, but I made sure that I always did my own check-ins before I even asked them for anything. So you can start to think about that too. Who you start networking internally with. Okay, because guess what? You creating a positive environment for yourself is going to show up in your performance. It's going to show up for your manager, all of that. Okay, all of that is connected. And what's also dope is that they would prioritize my requests versus other people because I made sure I was cool with them. Like I would ask about their family, ask about what are their interests, really, really like get to know them. Okay, so yeah. All right, perfect. So now we are down to weeks 5 and 8, which is skill development. So here right now, you should be on your own. Okay, you should be knocking out doing some of these tasks. So when I was in sales, I had to meet with C-suite decision makers, and I had to also start to generate sales reports of my activity for my manager. Okay, so this is also in a really crucial time. So if you're noticing that, hey, like I'm not catching on to this new this type of environment, or maybe I might not be doing well in this role as I thought I would, you really want to nip that in the bud. Okay, so you want to start getting connected with current team members, or maybe your manager to set up some more one-on-one time so you can close these knowledge gaps. Okay, because I need you guys to hit your KPIs, right? Because guess what? You hit your KPIs, you get more money, so y'all can invest more into the stock market. Okay, so you see how all of this connected. I'm trying to connect the dots for y'all. But anyway, you also want to think about getting a mentor. So at this time, when I worked at LinkedIn, I had 2 LinkedIn mentors, and I had 2 other mentors at that time at other companies, which were Google and Amazon. Okay. I had a mentor for sales, I had a mentor for HR, I had a mentor that was a sales leader, and I had a mentor that actually was in a different team. So she basically worked with marketing. So like all different, like, but we were all like connected in some way. So I basically asked for guidance, and I also would practice some of my sales pitches, okay, with my mentors because I needed to get real feedback. Okay, yes, you should definitely get feedback from your manager, but it's also nothing like getting transparent feedback. Don't be afraid to take constructive criticism. Okay, because again, we want to make sure that you guys are really excelling well here. Okay, because I really want you guys to be successful in these roles. And then also too, think about also gaining an internal mentor at the organization that really knows career development. So that could be HR, or that could be like your manager's manager, whoever you think that who you should really be networking with. Now I was actually cool with like my manager's manager's manager at LinkedIn. We would have our own bi-weekly check-ins because, and I really valued that with her because we really connected when she did a one-on-one with me, because that was her thing when she joined LinkedIn, which I thought was dope. Having leadership that cares. That's awesome. All right. Now, and also during week 5 to 8, you're going to also, well, and again, I'm only speaking on my experience, but I also had to complete technical trainings. And then this is when I started looking in terms of learning from other people because I wanted to know, hey, who's the best of the best at this job? So that's what I did. So I was starting to just watch other account managers' videos that we had that would be recorded in our CRM. Because if I'm able to again learn from their mistakes, learn maybe how they make challenges, but at the same challenge, I know how to handle that conversation, and that helped me out a lot. Okay, that helped me out a lot because I wasn't. I'm not gonna say I didn't like always act, like help. Like I guess like asking my manager for help, but he was really busy. Like I never had a manager that was that micromanaged me because his schedule was booked too. So I just wanted to make sure I utilize all resources available. All right, now towards the last month of the 90 days, I like to call goal achievement and integration. So here's where you're going to also reconnect with your manager again to see in terms of like how are you gauging your progress, okay, of hitting your KPIs, getting fully integrated in this role. Now, what I also recommend is joining, getting involved, active. If your company has this, which is called employee resource groups, ERGs. You have one for women. You have one for African Americans. You have one for military vets that are out there. And there may also be like an ERG for like with parents. You have ERG groups for Latinx communities, for the Asian and Hispanic, all of that, right? Now, I also know some companies that could be startups. If you don't mind taking this on, again, you got to make sure you're hitting your own, goals, KPIs, responsibilities. But I would say maybe if you really want to foster DEI, maybe you can help get one launched or maybe start like a new one because that definitely can happen. You have one for religious and affinity groups. So yeah, you never know who also can connect with you. And I remember at LinkedIn, I joined the Black Inclusion group. So I was responsible with actually putting on community programs. So when I was on the south side of Chicago, and I would also put on different like hiring, networking events for people that wanted to join tech. So I was a part of that with LinkedIn. All right, now this is also going to be an important call out. What I typically would do in all of like the companies that I worked at is that I would always have my resume updated. So any new win that will look really strong on my resume, I already added it. Okay. So typically people always say it's recommended every 6 months your resume should be updated. Now I don't believe that. Okay. I think that whenever you get a strong win, I'll immediately update that because you never know what happened. We're still at a time where people are still getting laid off. And not scare anyone, but I just want to still just call it out that this is still real for a lot of people. You have people that are still employed from last. Okay, so it's very competitive. So this is why I need you to always stand out with your best selves. Okay, which also brings me to my last point, making sure I'm still getting connected on LinkedIn. Every week, although when I was starting new jobs, I was still getting connected with other people that were in tech that had sales leadership roles and also sales recruiters. Okay, so yes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing and we'll take questions. I would love to learn, even though like what were some of your experiences when you were, I guess, like during your first 90 days? Okay, perfect. Oh, you guys, I really appreciate all this love. I'm having so much fun. Like this is really dope. This is awesome. So I'm sharing some of the same that have helped my clients get these $50,000 increases, 70K, 200K, all of that. So I'm really excited that you guys new because that's what it's about. I get no satisfaction holding this in, right? So please ask away. So if you have any questions in terms of how to handle your first 90 days or anything, I would say like in general with careers, please drop some questions in the chat. Thank you. Oh yes, waffles. So first of all, I actually created a resume for waffles because he got to start earning his stay. You guys, I pay $20 a month for his rent. I'm over it. Over it. So you say hi, puppy? All right. So listen, when you're live. Okay. So I love that comment. So when I actually worked at LinkedIn, I found out that they purposely actually hide it from your current employers. Okay. So they don't know that when you turn and go open to work, they will not be notified. It's not any of that nature. Okay. So so LinkedIn actually tries their best to hide it. So I would say, I would encourage you to use your open to work section. Please on LinkedIn, please do it. Okay, cool. All right. So it looks like we have another question. So it says, how does the LinkedIn apply work? And are they sending to okay, yeah. So listen, so you have a lot of companies, they purchase jobs on Indeed. They also purchase jobs to so if you ever say feature or easy apply, which is what Kayla's referencing, that's what so basically a lot of candidates, and this is actually crazy, right? This is really made for candidates to have a really easy experience. So you can use easy apply from your phone after you have already uploaded your resume to LinkedIn from your laptop or desktop. But yeah, so it's basically there so you can apply for a job in within less than 30 seconds. So sometimes they may have screening questions in terms of are you authorized to work in the United States? How many years of sales experience do you have? Or they may even ask you a question like, oh, tell me about a time that you made a mistake at work, whatever. Maybe you may have to fill out a few sentences, but it's really quick, okay? And the whole point is for them to keep as many candidates so they can review resumes. Now, what I will also say is if you ever see jobs on LinkedIn, Indeed, Career Builder, Simply Hired, Ada.com, and actually I'm going to drop some dope websites for you guys to look at, especially for startup tech jobs if you guys are interested. You can do a tech job and a non-tech job because I know tech is still big these days. Feel free to check out Ada.com and Built In. Perfect. Now, what I was going to say is don't ever be afraid if you see a lot of people that apply for jobs. Not everyone qualifies, okay? Typically, about 75% actually qualify for all these jobs that you guys see, okay? And I would also say the peak time for you to apply for roles was in the first 3 days, okay? So the first 72 hours, right, Waffles? Okay. Yes, the first 72 hours is your peak time. Now, something else that you guys can also notice that the peak times to apply on LinkedIn are Monday and Tuesday mornings, okay? Monday and Tuesday mornings. And Indeed and ZipRecruiter, if you're interested in using those, it would be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings. Perfect. Yes. So if you guys have any questions about your first 90 days, and I want to learn about yours, like what happens when you guys, I guess, positive was a negative because I've had both. Okay, I've had both type of experiences. They were interesting. I remember when I left my corporate job and I worked at a role. My first week, I was like, "Oh yeah, this ain't it for me. This is not it. This is not it. This is not it." Because I saw firsthand what a company looks like when they don't give you enough resources. And I was shocked because I was coming from an environment where it just seemed like everything was together, but I just wasn't getting it right. So it was like a lose-lose, but I know God had me there for a reason. All right, cool. So we have some comments. Okay, so your first 90 days the manager quit. Oh my gosh. That's insane. That's really do you like your new manager now though? Oh, okay. During COVID. Yeah. COVID was a wild time, that's for sure. And it's crazy. COVID. So many people, so many these like companies, they were over ambitious, they were over hiring. So I think it was a gift and a curse, so to speak, during that time. Okay. Oh, congratulations, you a manager. Go ahead, girl. Well, listen. And I would also say, even just thinking about like your first 90 days, I can also just also piggyback and think about, I mean, how to handle a performance review. Okay. So if you're interested in getting promoted at work, or even when it like transition out of that company, you want to make sure that your reviews are very high. Okay. But one, you need to make sure it's not biased, first of all, first and foremost. Okay. So let's make sure that there's no shady business going on there, because you have a lot more companies that are getting exposed with not playing fair. Like I know some really large companies, from Fortune 500 companies, where they've been exposed to um like I would say, like giving like their black employees a lot harsher reviews on purpose. So all that was getting exposed. But anyway, yeah. So how you handle performance review? So I would say kind of check back in terms of what did you execute in your first 90 days. Maybe find that original job description if you can, right? And then think about like what were all of your duties and roles, right? What are all your KPIs? And you want to really like think about how have you executed it. So because this is 2023, you have a lot of access to data. So I would say like the more that you can get all your like reports, right, so they can see that concrete data, the better. Okay, especially like you, Kayla, like making sure that you're calling out all those like numeric like metrics and things of that nature, whether you're managing a team, managing a project, like whatever that entails, call that out. Okay, because you want to think about creating what is called a portfolio. Like a portfolio is like a big way for you to accomplish your wins. You can accomplish like your professional achievements, education. You can also maybe break down leadership examples, right? Like how did you show your impact? Oh, perfect. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like I create profiles for C-suite and like director level up, but everyone can have a portfolio though. So yeah, like think about that. So if you're in marketing, tech, you definitely need one because they want to see your work. But yeah, but anyway, performance review. Sorry, I can go on a tangent when I get excited. I'm sorry about that. So also how to handle like performance reviews. You also want to, I would also say, if you weren't interested in getting more money, you don't have to accept just a 3% merit increase. Okay, you don't need to accept that standard. I've helped clients get 10% increases. I helped them get 15% increases. Okay, during a promotion at work, because they're going off of market data. So looking at pay scale, market pay. You can also go on Levels FYI. Like all of these are great resources, okay, to show what's credible. As I always say on this show, do not use Glassdoor. Do not use Glassdoor. Hell no to Glassdoor, okay? So don't use that. But you can also, I'm looking at, and then I would say practice having the conversation, because if you want to get promoted, right, if you want to have a great performance review, even if you don't want to get promoted, you want to make sure that you can sell yourself, okay? Because you never know if you're up for a promotion or not. You never know, like what it would be like your time in terms of like getting like this next opportunity. So I need you to always stay ready, okay? Now, what I would say is if you are a professional where maybe you're not hitting your KPIs, I would say maybe you could think about maybe before you get on what is called a performance action plan, because typically, like a lot of times, like that's like your final, I guess, like time there to really prove yourself to get off of it. But if you find out that maybe this might be before your performance review and it's not going well, you want to get connected with your manager, and then you want to start, I would say, getting alignment there to create some mutual goals that you can achieve. Okay, because it's important to see that you are still trying. Okay, and like things can happen. Like I've had clients where they had to go on like FMLA because it was too much. Things like so like and all that too. So I would say like making sure that you can try to get a hit. Okay, just try for that. Okay, perfect. All right. So do you guys have any other questions? Because if not, we could definitely wrap this up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop. I'm gonna have Vic drop my Instagram down. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me or hit me up on Instagram at _swing solutions. All right, perfect. So yeah, so Vic just out Ada. So Ada's a great opportunity if you're interested in working at a startup company. So they have a lot of dope 100% remote jobs on there. So I encourage you all to use Ada. It's free. You can also go on Built-in. So Built-in highlights. So they're a job board. They also highlight what are always like the next in like tech companies. So you got beauty tech, HR tech, green tech, cannabis tech. You have fintech, nonprofit tech, ad tech now, marketing tech. Like there's so much now, legal tech as well. So you can always like get can really just like review that to see what's new. Okay. So if there are any more questions, oh, I appreciate all the love, you guys. You guys are so dope. We can just close out. So I just want to say as a recap, like making sure that you're quantifying your resume, calling out your transferable accomplishments, calling out all of your relevant skills to stand out to recruiters, making sure you're not using those like the little Canva resume generators. You don't need all that, okay? Because I want you to get past the applicant tracking system to stand out to recruiters. I would also say that there's actually a tool that's called what I'll do is I'll also like drop this in the chat too, but basically it's using artificial intelligence where you can copy your resume with like it gets a job description and you can see how strong it is. Okay, so you got one that's called like resume AI, whatever, so it's cool. Anyway, so your first 90 days, this is a great way for you to really foster alignment with your manager. Okay, so you want to call out what are your roles and expectations. You want to make sure you are networking internally with employees that are doing well. Okay, you want to start to create your own tribe, create your own community with other cross-functional colleagues because they may help you to exceed your job. You know, we need that. Okay, it takes a village, right? You ought to make sure that you're aware of all of your numbers, all of your like KPIs for that. Okay, you want to make sure that your resume will always stay ready. So you got to get ready, right? We got to, make sure we're always ready before these layoffs are happening, or just in general. You never know a recruiter will hit you up on LinkedIn. You never know what will happen. You never know who's watching you, not to scare you. Okay. But yeah, I used to do it all the time. I used to just like friends, boyfriends and stuff. They would ask me to like look at their stuff, but whatever. But anyway, I would just say that you never know who's looking, but that creates opportunity, okay? Because there are close to over 1 million recruiters on LinkedIn now, okay? And I can't stress this enough about using LinkedIn, like the power of the connection. So when I'm on LinkedIn, I have 8,000 first connections, meaning these are my first, whatever. I have over 1 million mutual connections on LinkedIn, okay? That means I have over a mutual, I have I have like over like all these companies, whatever, where I can maybe like call out, sign into their DMs and get some conversation started, okay? I do it for some of my clients. I do it, okay? I do it, and I want to encourage you to do it too, okay? Because guess what? Recruiters got jobs and they need y'all. And these could be recruiters at staffing firms. Some of the staffing firms do contract work only or contract to hire or full-time. It just really depends. You also have you also have staffing firms that maybe specialize in leadership or DEI type of roles. So I have a list for that as well. I can share with you via email. So let me know if you're interested in getting that list. Okay. But yeah, I go on a tangent because I get excited. But yeah, so let's see. And then also on how to end like your first 90 days, you need to make sure that you're confident in yourself. Okay. Yes, of course, Tasha. Yeah. Feel free to send me a link request. My name is Tiara Swain, MBA on LinkedIn. Okay. And connect with me. Don't connect. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. And I just want to say you guys have been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for next week. And if you have any questions, know I will always be a resource to you. Thank you guys. Have a great night. Thank you.